Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I am so glad that you're here. Hey, I talk to a lot of sales professionals. It's crazy times right now. And the single biggest dilemma that's facing these salespeople as they attempt to start their sales activities, they've been upended by this crazy coronavirus, is going to be, and kind of is right now, finding those perfect prospects so they can build their funnel. Then we got to think about how do we engage in a thoughtful, careful way so that we actually improve our brand instead of tarnishing it. Well, today I'm delighted to talk with Jeff Koser. Jeff is the founder and CEO of ZebraFi. They provide the tools, process, and software that ensures salespeople earn the right to meet with executives with budget authority. Really important, right? Those are people that actually can buy. Jeff's also the author of the book, Selling to Zebras, and this is his second visit with me, and I'm super excited that he's here. Jeff, the mask, man, what is up?
Hey, Phil, how do you like that?
That's awesome, right? I think that's really appropriate given our conversation. If you're just listening, folks, Jeff is wearing, of course, a zebra striped mask, talking about personal branding, right in line with the whole ZebraFi brand. So, Jeff, go ahead and take that off so you can breathe while we talk here. It's good to see you again, man.
Exactly. It'll probably make me sick, right?
Well, yeah, right. Breathing our own air, it's especially because we're not used to it. It's absolutely hard, and I would say inappropriate, right, for a podcast episode, but great way to start. So really fun, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. And you?
Good, really good, really good. So this is fun, man. So I know you are real big on finding the right people, but let's back up here. Let's talk about this big challenge for salespeople, right? First, they're stuck and they can't restart, right? They're like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I make that call? So Jeff, let's talk about that first call. What do we have to do to even prepare to make that first call super effective?
Well, first of all, we've got to, even more so than before, we've got to make sure that we're calling on someone where our solution is imperative, where our solution brings value that is worth even paying any attention to today. I mean, that's always been the right way to sell, right? It's the courteous way to sell, is to make sure that you target appropriately so that you bring exceptional value. But today, the only people that they're going to let in the door are going to be people where you bring a solid business case, where the reason for buying is compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important. We have to have a compelling business case. Otherwise, I mean, why talk? Right now, there's so many choices. In fact, much of the choice is survival, I think, for a lot of organizations, right? For
Keeping
companies.
the lights on, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have to make the builds first and then grow the business second, which is really, I mean, most organizations, most businesses, that's not how they run. Usually they have a, 10, 20, 30, 50% profit margin. But now it's like, ooh, all my customers are gone. And you want to talk to me about what? Nah, I don't think so. So how do we make sure that we position ourselves as that solution of choice without looking like, hey, I'm the greatest, pick me?
Well, as you know, we've dedicated a lot of pages in our book to that very topic. We have a whole process for creating the profile of the perfect prospect, and it includes things like ensuring that you identify the critical business issues that you solve, that you quantify the value that you create by solving them, and that you know who actually has those problems, and that you have real live customers that you can point to that are willing to say that you solved that problem and that you created value, and that's really the source of your message. The key is that it isn't really a message from your marketing department. It's the voice of the customer, which is more valuable to a prospect, because as salespeople, they'll divide by us. That's just human nature. That's the way capitalism works with the sales economy. They don't believe a salesperson, but they do believe your customers. So if the message comes from your customer and you've targeted appropriately, you should be relevant even now.
Yeah, absolutely. If we have good social proof, if we have good case stories, if we have, good results, let's be clear, right? We have to have those results, not just that we say, but that our customers say, we're able to kind of sell through this and work through it, because I don't think there's any getting around it. We can't pretend like nothing is different. I mean, I've seen some marketers are like, well, if I see one more message that says, selling in a challenging time, well, I can tell you, if I get one more phone call of somebody who doesn't acknowledge that we're in a different time, I'm going to be really disappointed, right? So I think it's interesting. Marketing feels overload. I think as a consumer, right, as someone who gets asked to buy a lot, we don't see that. So what do you think about that, Jeff? Do we have to acknowledge that elephant in the room, or is the elephant already passed and it's invisible now?
So that's a really good question. If I get a message from someone that it gets a little bit creative, maybe not in the classic way that everybody is, I get, I counted them before we got on the show. I like to see how many messages end up in my spam, and I had 143 since last night, yesterday, when I put exactly. So I like to run through the subject lines to see, are there any I would open, just because I'm intrigued by that, because we teach, how do you do that? How do you make it so that somebody would actually read it if you're standing between them and getting home at night, even, for example? How do you make it so that they'll at least pay attention to your subject line, maybe not delete yours, read it tomorrow? And I still think that you have to be courteous about the situation. I think you have to respect that their priorities might still be different. But frankly, I'm tired of the messages myself where they start out with, I hope you're safe, but I want to sell you something.
Yeah, right. I think that's really interesting, right? We get right into our marketing and sales pants like right away. It's like, you didn't even kiss me, dude. What's going on with that? I mean, like, really, I was listening. So not, I think it's not just salespeople though. I mean, I was listening to a morning sports talk show today, and they didn't even breathe between the, I hope you're safe, I hope you're well, and let's get into exactly what we're talking about. It's like, that's ridiculous. And I think really, we have to two-step that. I think we have to really focus on, is this even a value first? Like, or is that even of interest? Do I even give a rip about you first? And
Right.
then not even just asking a question, but really coming at it with, hey, I have some value. I've interviewed 137 people during this challenging time, and I'm wondering, can I perhaps offer you some insight into what I've seen going on in businesses like yours? Is that an effective way, or is there something I should be doing better?
Actually, I like that. We're finding that you have to offer something of value that isn't directly tied to you getting anything back. So, and I think that you have to put thought into that to make sure it truly is of value. And that goes back to the targeting. If your target customer, you should have things that would be of value, whether they buy from you or not. And like you just said, if you've interviewed, if that's a true statement, 137 people during these times, then you've got a really good feel all over the country what things are like and what messages playing and what messages don't.
Yeah, I think that I have folks on my team, because I don't do any direct sales right now. I'm a sales trainer. I don't get to talk to as many customers I'd like, but I can tell you, from my sales teams, even when they come at it with insight, when they've actually got something to share that's of value, they get a lot better response than they do if they're just like, hey, by the way, we've got a really great product. We've got a really great solution that works. I mean, I work for Vector Solutions. We absolutely do have a good solution, but nobody cares unless you can make it relevant.
Yeah, nobody cares unless you make it about them as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's relevancy, right? That's where conversations happen. Because if we have a conversation, I'm going to trust you a little bit more. As we start, I'm going to loosen you up. We'll eventually get to a point where if I've earned that conversation, even in an email, you're going to be much more apt to share a little bit more if you can see that there's some depth and some give a rip about you in my email. Have you seen that too? I mean, because I look at my spam emails too, Jeff, and it's so funny, man. Just for fun, I just looked. I've got 14 of them, and the funniest one is the top one actually says insight for building my SDR team. which is pretty good, right? Which is pretty good. And I think that it's interesting that he links to somebody else's article, even not even his own article in that. So I'm actually going to give that a read. But the rest of them are like, hey, would you be interested in buying my crap? Hey, I've got some crap to sell you. Hey, here's some more crap. So Jeff, what look in your spam, man? What or tell me about what you've seen here, what is not effective, and then let's pivot into let's be more effective.
So one of the things I just read before the show was someone that does outsourced services said that in the subject line, and you pop it open, and it literally did say, "I hope you're well, but did you know we offer outsourced services and our specialty areas include bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3, bullet point 4," and it was product. It was nothing about my business, nothing about whether or not I was the right person to even be communicating with on the topic at hand, and didn't bring me any value at all. And the only reason I opened it was because I wanted to be familiar with one that was annoying because I knew you'd ask.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So let's make that better, right? You mentioned we have to qualify who the person is. So should we know, Jeff, who the person is, or should we ask, or should we confirm? How do we make that approach here?
Well, I don't think we'll always know who the person is, especially if we're doing some type of account-based marketing with automation. But it has to come across as if it's a one-on-one communication. I mean, what did I send you to get your attention again? I sent you the signature, right? So I took a picture of my glasses and sent those to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, which totally re-engages a conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So hyper relevant. Okay, got that. Okay.
And it has to be something that gets them to raise their hand. So you don't want to send them another message, I don't think, without them saying. You can send them another message, but it has to be, I think, increasingly shorter, maybe even increasingly of more value, and it has to offer that gift maybe, or that something of value for them that doesn't directly benefit you, that gets them to raise their hand and say, "I'm interested in that."
Okay, that's good. So one-on-one, super relevant, continuing with more value, especially if you're not asking for anything back. I think that's really good. And then at what point, though, do we actually ask for the appointment?
They have to raise their hand first, or you can't ask. And we like to stop after four emails, and those emails are maybe over a 2-week period, and then you could revisit them again in the future, but not anytime real soon. Maybe next quarter. We have enough prospects. There's enough out there in the pool of opportunity that are our zebras, right? That we should be pursuing. And if there aren't, we probably don't have a real business.
Yeah, that's good. So for email, so what about phone calls, right? Because I believe that you have to have a mix of social, email, and phone calls there. And I call it, it used to be 8 in a date, and now I think it's 12 to get love, right? I think your four emails, 4 social touches, and 4 phone calls is probably the right formula there. What are you seeing, or what are you coaching on that?
Well, I like the idea of multiple forms as well. And I would never send an email without first leaving a voicemail that's a similar message, that asks them respectfully to take a look at the email, or asks their assistant, if you're trying to get to an executive, recognize that there might be an assistant reading their email. Ask your assistant to queue this one up for you, to take a look at it. And that there's more detail that might be of value, and here's why. But I'd leave that voicemail very short, because again, you could be standing in the way of them being done at the end of the day. And you are going to leave a voicemail, because nobody answers their phone live today if it comes through on a cell phone or in the office and they don't know who the number is from.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is people just don't answer the phone because it is spammy. I mean, I think I've got 3 different ways to detect spam calls on my phone, and I still get them. And my least favorite is when I know it's from somebody who is not in the Milwaukee area, right? I don't live in Milwaukee anymore, but I used to. So my phone number is still 414, and they try to deke me out with another 414 number. Like, I'm going to answer that. Like, who said that's a good idea? Like, who really said, yes, start your relationship off on a lie? call from a number that isn't really yours, especially if your number's in your signature line and that differs from the number, because like you said, man, you're leaving a voicemail and an email, and that's a totally different number. I'm going to look, well, I don't see that you called, and yet you did, and maybe you left me a voicemail. It ends up in spam because it wasn't really your number, or I purposely did not take it because you look like a spammer. I don't know your number. So we talked about customer case story there. Do we then drop the name of one of our customers? Do we ask for a referral? I mean, how do we get through that here? How do we make that a little bit better so that you'll actually answer the phone the next time I call or respond to my voicemail or email?
So just to comment on where the phone number looks like something local. The very first time, it's funny you bring that up, because the very first time that ever happened to me, I did answer the phone, but only one time, right? And the guy, it was a younger guy on the phone, and I said, I thought it was someone I knew, and he said, "You're supposed to. Isn't this new technology great?" And I said, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, not only am I not interested in you, I'm not very happy with you either. And I won't get fooled again. So whatever your company invested in isn't going to work twice on the same executive." So back to your point and your question, I think dropping the name of a customer, especially if it's similar size, similar industry, someone that they will recognize, or you can make it recognizable because you're sharing with them that you did your homework. This account is similar to you, and this is why I'm calling you. I did my research. I think you've got the business issue I solved. Here's what I found. You have to be a little bit careful. What I just shared with you might be 3 or 4 messages, because you can only hit them with one idea per voicemail or per email, and maybe you space those out. But the point is, if you target appropriately, if you do it because you really do believe you found someone you can help, eventually you're going to have more success.
Absolutely. That's so funny. You, without saying it, you talked about feel, felt, found, which is one of the oldest ways that we've ever sold. And yet it's still very effective. And I completely agree with that, right? I think that so often we miss the fundamentals because we're looking for some new way. And then we forget that those old ways worked because we were selling to humans just like we are today, who want to de-risk the relationship, who want to make sure they don't make a mistake. I mean, there's a reason that the old saw about nobody gets fired for buying IBM is true. They're so big, like what you have a reason there. So if you can find something in common, I think we have a really good shot of making a sale there, especially, as you said, if we target right. So Jeff, targeting right is hard though. Targeting right is difficult. I mean, it'd be really great if I could take like one customer that I have that I know is the right customer, and maybe the right position that they have, maybe the right industry that they have, right? I've got some right characteristics there, and replicate that. So how do we do that, Jeff? How do we replicate those and turn one into 5 or 50 or 100?
Perfect setup, Phil. So, as you know, we define how do you define that perfect prospect, and it is work. I mean, we distilled it down into 7 attributes. I gotta find my screen here. There's 7. 7 attributes that you want to define. We start with company, then operations, then who's the decision maker likely to be for a solution like yours, funding, value or ROI, technology, and service. But to do that, you really have to follow the guides that we provided, and it isn't easy and it isn't fast. And then you have to test it. So what we've worked on for quite some time now is it's called a sales bot in technology world. But what it is AI and machine learning running in the background. So now all you have to do, if you have Salesforce and you're a B2B salesperson, you just click on an account that you say, this is a good one for us. We know we do well there. We create a lot of value. You just click on a button that we put in Salesforce, and it will find up to 5 that look just like that customer. So it gives you a much greater opportunity to be targeting appropriately. It's automated that process for you, and it's done it's done the legwork, the upfront legwork for you.
Wow. Wow. So you built a bot that that looks at company operations, who's the power decision maker, the funding, the value, the ROI, the tech, and the service. Talk to me about this service, Jeff. What does that one mean? I understand the other six.
So service is all about what level of service do you have to provide, and is your customer willing to pay for, or if it's
Okay.
part of your offering, what do you have to provide that's included in the price to make sure that client actually solves the business problem and achieves the value that is the reason that they buy your solution.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So talk us through that. I mean, it's literally just install this little bot in Salesforce, pick the right account, and basically hit replicate, and it finds 5 more.
Yeah. So what we've done is so it works just in the U.S. today. We've ingested over 1 million companies, and we've spent time scraping information about them. So it's not just that they're the right industry, that they're the right size, the right SIT code and the right NAICS code. Those things are taken into account, but it's also, do they feel like your best customer? How do they feel? So Serigraph is one of our best customers. If you click on Serigraph, what other companies feel like Serigraph? They're a lean manufacturer. They sell based on quality. They have a great reputation in their industry. Who else is out there that's like that? And that's what we find. And to kind of dovetail on what I shared with you before, that today you have to really bring a lot of value to somebody before they might be interested in anything else you have. We've decided to make this free. So it's a beta. So hopefully we're setting expectations appropriately, because we're still tweaking it. But we're offering it to your listeners for free.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty awesome. So in the Salesforce App Exchange, you can search for the ZebraFi sales bot. It's in beta, as you said. So, it isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be a lot better than a lot of the things that are out there that you'd have to do on your own. It's got those 7 different ways that you're going to go through: company, ops, the decision maker, the power, funding, value, and ROI, the tech, and the service. So lots of stuff there, Jeff. So
so let me just to correct you real quick.
Okay.
Because we haven't yet put it out on the App Exchange.
Oh, okay.
And the reason we haven't is because what we're doing is, you go to ZebraFi, ZebraFi.com, and right on our homepage you'll see SalesBot. Try it, click, and you can try it. Join us, try it for free. It's a 2-minute install, but the reason we haven't yet put it out on the Salesforce app is we want to work with some of the Salesforce administrators out there just to make sure they feel like it's totally non-invasive, make sure that they feel very comfortable recommending it to their company, and that it's a very easy yes, in essence.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I stand corrected, folks. So go to ZebraFi.com. Thank you for correcting me there, Jeff. I misunderstood when we talked before. So get the sales bot, replicates up to 5 of those companies, so you can find more of your best customers, of your, as you would call them, your zebras. Is that right, Jeff?
You got it.
Awesome, man. Cool. So if people want to connect with you, if they want to talk to you, I know ZebraFi.com is probably the best place, but you have a social channel you hang out on that people can come by, ask you some questions, or talk to you a little more?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at ZebraJeff. They can email me at jeff@zebrafi.com. So that's simple. We're on Facebook. We're still actually called Selling to Zebras on Facebook. We changed the name, but the book is still Selling to Zebras, so we still keep that moniker alive.
Awesome. Awesome. So good stuff, gang. If you want to sell more to your best customers, if you want to get those zebras, go check out ZebraFi's sales bot inside of Salesforce.com. So go to ZebraFi.com, that's ZebraFi.com, and click on the button that says get the sales bot. Check it out. Jeff Koser, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Learned a lot, as I always do, and I always value your time, man. Thank you.
I learned from you too, Phil. Thank you.
My pleasure.